Hi, my name is Alfred, right from the start. I want to say that I have only minimal experience with investing, and that is exactly why I decided to start this series. The idea is to test what investing looks like when relying solely on AI. My personal goal is to outperform the S&P 500 on an annual basis. I've never really engaged in active investing, mainly because it requires a huge amount of time for research and analysis. However, today these are exactly the areas where AI excels. So let's see how this plays out when it comes to investing. Today, we are kicking things off by building our very first prompt, a foundation we will keep refining as we go. We will test out several language models, pick the one that performs best, and then put it to the test by investing 1,000 euros based on its recommendations. All right, let's get started. First, we will create our very first prompt for ChatGPT, and who better to craft it than ChatGPT itself. We asked it to create a deep research prompt that, based on the current geopolitical and macroeconomic situation, would select 3 to 5 suitable stocks for investment over a 1 to 3 month horizon. As you can see, the result is a complex and detailed prompt, something I definitely would not have been able to create on my own. I am not going to go into all the details here, mainly because I do not understand them myself. What matters to me is a table of stocks with allocated capital and some justification for each choice. I believe that, based on this prompt, we'll get exactly that. Let's copy it and see what results it gives us. We will update the current date, and before hitting enter, we cannot forget to activate the most important function. Deep research. This function scans online articles, videos, and social media posts, and uses that information to generate the output. That's why the result shouldn't be fabricated. It is based solely on the information it finds online, which helps prevent so-called hallucinations. And here it is. After 8 minutes, we're getting the output from ChatGPT. Deep research. It performed 109 searches and read through nearly 40 articles. And here we've run into the first problem. The articles aren't fully up to date. ChatGPT pulled from sources that are several months old, which isn't exactly what we want. That pushed us to slightly adjust our prompt by adding a time range for the sources it can pull from. Once again, deep research comes back with some follow-up questions, which we'll answer based on our own judgment. And then it was time to wait again. Another 8 minutes. This time, however, it only read through 26 articles and performed 67 searches, which is noticeably less than in the previous round. The good news is that most of the sources now fall within the time window we defined. I won't go into the details of this research output, but I'll scroll through it so anyone interested can pause the video and read it. What really matters to us are the specific stocks ChatGPT recommended and the way it allocated our capital. Here we can see the table with the individual stocks it recommends buying, along with basic analyses and the estimated probabilities of their future market movements. According to ChatGPT, we should invest around 300 to 350 euros into Rheinmetall and First Solar, and about 150 to 200 euros into ASML, Applied Materials, and Rockwell Automation. Now, if we add up even the lowest suggested amounts, the total exceeds our 1,000 euros budget. But if we decide to go with this output, we will simply adjust the allocations proportionally so everything fits within our 1,000 euros capital. While recording this video, I also wanted to test the Gemini language model, since it's known for delivering excellent results. Unfortunately, I only accessed it through a web-based development environment, which you can see on the screen now. The downside is that this environment doesn't support deep research. Unfortunately, it didn't occur to me to try the standard Gemini interface, where deep research is actually supported. But we will definitely test it in the next video, since I personally have high hopes for it. Our next language model to test is Grok. We'll feed it the same prompt for deep research and see what outputs it generates. Once again, we see a table with the most essential information for investors. It also provides reasoning for why it's worth buying the recommended stocks at this time. Most importantly for us, it shows how to allocate our capital across the different companies. Grok selected 4 stocks, once again Nvidia, ASML, and it added Novo Nordisk and Lockheed Martin. For Nvidia and ASML, it recommends investing €300 each, and for Novo Nordisk and Lockheed Martin, €150 each. This brings the total to €900, with the remaining €100 suggested as a cash buffer for specific situations. Overall, the outputs from ChatGPT and Grok are very similar, but Grok's structure is slightly more favorable to me, and I also prefer its stock selection. One thing I forgot to mention, the entire research process took only 1 minute and 34 seconds, during which it managed to analyze nearly 100 resources. Now, let's take a look at the last model we tested, Perplexity. We ran deep research with the same prompt. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. The output is really professional and detailed. It even included a somewhat unnecessary graph, but at least it looks interesting. The output was very fast. It analyzed 51 sources, similar to ChatGPT, but in a much shorter time. The most important part, the capital allocation, was presented in a separate, very clear table. We can see that it recommended 5 stocks, once again, Nvidia and ASML, and it added Broadcom, Taiwan Semiconductor, and SAP. I'm very happy with this selection, as these are companies I'm familiar with, and this will likely be the portfolio we choose for our investment. However, it's also worth noting that the portfolio's diversification is minimal, which I understand might not appeal to everyone. But let's go back to the table and take a closer look at how it decided to allocate our capital. It decided to allocate €350 to Nvidia, €300 to Taiwan Semiconductor, €200 to Broadcom, €100 to SAP, and €50 to ASML. And here we have it. These are the results from the different language models. We've decided to make our first investment using Perplexity. In the next video, we'll see how all of these models perform over the course of a month. And based on their performance, we'll choose the most suitable model for our next investment. All right, let's put theory into practice and actually buy the stocks recommended by Perplexity. For this, I'll be using XTB as my trading platform. Starting with Nvidia, we will allocate €350. Next is Taiwan Semiconductor for €300. Then we have Broadcom with €200, SAP follows with €100, and finally ASML with €50. And here you can see our newly created portfolio. Since it is the weekend, the 23rd of August, the stock market is closed. So the actual purchase will go through on Monday, the 25th of August. But for us, that is not an issue at all. On the 23rd of September, we will review our portfolio and create a new prompt to evaluate its performance. If needed, we will make adjustments based on the recommendations of one of the language models. In the next video, we will choose the model based on its 1-month performance. Compare the portfolios of all the models we have tested so far, and also add Gemini into the experiment. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. I will do my best to keep improving the quality of these videos. And if you don't want to miss the next episode and see how our portfolio develops, make sure to subscribe. See you soon.